you all for coming, and all the fans and readers and customers that are coming too. I appreciate it. And just sit down and enjoy yourself. We've got food over here. Great.
Doggy, thank you.
My name's Diane Piron-Gelman, and I write under I write as Diane Piron. So, and I got started with a professional writing career in 2011 with the publication of my first book, No Less in Blood. But I've been writing pretty much all my life. I was one of those kids who wrote little stories in second grade, and always wanted to read out loud when given half a chance in class. Couldn't make up my mind whether to be an actor or a writer for the longest time, so I decided to do both. And I fell in love with murder mysteries when I was 12, and my father brought home a copy of The Murder of Roger Ackroyd, so I cut my teeth on Agatha Christie. And just decided one year when I was in my 20s to start writing, and my first book was terrible. Every author's first book is terrible, and I shut it in a drawer and forgot about it, and kept reading, and then kept writing, and eventually wrote something that was publishable. And I'm also a history nerd, so even my first book is partly contemporary but also partly historical. There's a storyline set in 1893, and then my other 3 published books are a trilogy that are they're set right after the Great Chicago Fire in 1872. With an Irish Catholic detective teaming up with a rabbi's daughter to solve cases. So that's kind of where I live now, is in the historical mystery area. It's a lot of fun. It lets you illuminate a lot of things about contemporary life through the lens of history, and that's just fun. It's a lot of fun. I was doing Chicago shoestring theater for a long time, which is professional non-equity, where it's great work, but you don't earn a lot of money. So my day jobs tended to be, I worked as a receptionist at a bank, and then I worked as an editor at a role-playing game publisher for years, so that was my day job. So I was doing fantasy role-playing games and editing those manuscripts and writing, and then going home and doing my own writing and mystery at night. And then when my first son was born in 1998, I decided to go freelance with the editing thing, and so I've been a freelance editor out of my house for the last 25 years, which is absolutely wonderful. And so that's where I make money. That's the day job now, is taking other people's words and making them sound pretty, or fixing the story arc or whatever. And then I have my own books published on the side. I think, and I don't know if this is a professional opinion or just a hope, but I think big publishing, I mean, we used to have so many more publishers, and then they kept swallowing each other up, and we were down to the big 5, and it was almost the big 4. There was another merger deal that I think did not go through, if I remember, with Simon & Schuster. But I think publishing is getting huge and unwieldy. The big publishers, and all of the interesting action is happening with small presses or with self-published books that are actually better than they used to be. Because when self-publishing first started, there was a lot of, it was sort of a kiss of death if you were self-published, because people assumed it was probably a terrible book. I don't think that assumption is there anymore. I think there's some good quality work being put out in self-published areas. But I think there's a decent chance that the large publishers are going to get so sclerotic and hidebound that they're just going to collapse at their own weight. And then the field will be free for smaller publishers to spring up, and there will be a lot more opportunity for writers in the future. Very much hope this is the case, because right now there's not enough. I think the self-publishing sort of dream of I'll self-publish my book and it'll take off and I'll sell 1 million copies, I think that's probably unlikely. That's a lightning strike. It happens, but it's a lightning strike. But I do think if you really have a decent book and you want to get it out there and you can't get any joy from established publishers, don't necessarily give up. Go to a good editor, go to a good cover designer, talk to somebody who's done it and knows a little bit about public relations, so you can at least get some word out, and then trust that your readers will find you. I think that can be done very easily.
There's also another one of my absolute favorites
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Oh, yeah.
One of my all-time favorites.
It'll be interesting to see how you color that.
Oh, yeah.